Good evening. It is 5 p.m. and welcome to the October 20th, 2025 Public Safety Committee meeting. I am Rob Watton, Chair of the Public Safety. Today, the meeting is being recorded and will be available on the city's website. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Warren, and everyone else in the audience. First of all, we'll start with the roll call. And with that, we have council members Christensen and Cotton present, as well as Clerk Dean, Mayor Ross, City Administrator Chambliss, and City Attorney Burke, as well as Fire Chief, Deputy Fire Chief Brown, and Acting Police Chief Bracy. All right, with that, I will move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda, council members? Hearing none, we will accept the agenda as presented, and then we get to go on to public comments. So I hope that somebody's here. What we're doing is public comment. There are a few ground rules. First of all, you have to be here in order to have public comment. If you are not present, then please send your comments into the city clerk or myself or any of the council members on this committee, and we will make sure that your concerns are addressed. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please wait to be recognized by me. We may ask, well, first of all, we'll ask for your name and city and all that, but it's at the discretion of the chair if there's follow-up. Generally, you speak to the council as a whole, but if there's something specific that you want to request, we may refer you over to the particular department so that it does get addressed. And with that, there's no actual time for questions of the commission. Of course, we may make that discretion on our own. And then last is please respect the decorum of this proceedings, which I'm sure everybody will. And with that, I open up the floor for public comments. Mr. Warren, please step to the podium and state your name and you can use your business address if you'd like.
My name is Jeff Warren, State Farm Agent, Snoqualmie, Washington. Thank you for allowing me to speak here. My address is 8429 Falls Avenue Southeast. I've been in business there since 2011. I've been in Snoqualmie in business since 2007. I come here tonight, thank you council members for acknowledging me, but my concern is for public safety and my concern issues from downtown up to basically the gas station. My real concern is the Rooster Valley School, and that we have children walking across streets. We have parking both sides of the streets where mom and dads are getting out of the car with all 4 car doors open, grabbing one toddler while trying to rein in the next toddler. We got school going at the same time. We also have Railroad Avenue, which has been lowered to 40 miles an hour, but people are still going 40 miles an hour all the way down till they get to Buckshot Honey. If you're coming in to drop kids off the school on Beta or on Newton, you've got people behind you who are right on your butt going 40 miles an hour. I have a couple ideas that might work for some of the things. My concern is there's going to be a tragedy. And if there is a tragedy, it's going to affect the person that's hurt. It's going to affect the people that were involved in the accident. And I've been watching this for a while, and I think we might be able to do something about it. First of all, when you turn off onto Beta, there should be school signs. There should be crosswalks with lights. Every other school that we have in the valley has those. And to call the Rooster Valley School not a school But a daycare isn't really living up to what's going on there. It's a whole community of buildings around the entire block. It's not just one location. And the same places on Beta that cross Railroad Avenue and on Newton that cross Railroad Avenue have the school, the Catholic school bringing children across. The crosswalks there aren't well defined. There are no school signs there. There is no intentional development of possible four-way stop on Newton and Falls Avenue. And you might have the same problem on Falls Avenue and Beta. My concern, slowing the traffic down and making sure nobody gets hurt. And that it's brought to the attention of the people to do some of the things we've done at other places. I think the upside to this is if you slow the traffic back to Gear Auto and make it, when you come across that intersection where the light is, that you are expecting to go down to 25 miles an hour, we might actually have 25 miles an hour going through town. And having been in town for a long time, trying to go to the Black Dog and carry my equipment in, a logging truck or a people come through there at 40 miles an hour. And once again, the only thing that's going to happen is someday there will be a tragedy. And nobody is restricted. Nobody's thinking about it. They just want to get home. And when they come off the expressway, they're in race mode. And so putting on your brakes or slowing down seems to be problematic. When I go,
If there's no objection, I'll just let him wrap up. Thank you.
so when I go through towns like Duval, they've decorated downtown. They've got beautiful walking historic area there. They've really developed it. You don't go 40 miles an hour through there. If what we're looking for is more tourists and people to go into the downtown area to utilize it and feel safe, I think that if we can restrain traffic and get it to where it is down to 25 miles an hour, or you could actually stop if a kid ran out in front of you. I mean, I'd be happy with 15 or 20, but I think the other biggest problem, wrapping up, is that the signs, the speed limit signs coming from Meadowbrook through are covered up by trees and they're covered up by branches. So when you come in, it says reduce speed to, speed limit will be 35. And then the 35 sign is blocked. And then the next sign you see is ahead 25 miles an hour. And the 25 mile an hour sign isn't all the way until you get to Indian Belly. And you don't see the school crossing sign or the crosswalk sign at all because of everything that's in the way. So if you take that under consideration, I'd really appreciate it. Coming from an industry that's trying to, I don't want to be involved in any of that when it goes south. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Those are very good comments, and we've put a lot of emphasis downtown in another part. So I'll make sure the police chief and public works can work together and see what they can do for signage. A little bit has to do with WashDOT and the speeds through town, but your points are very valid. And I think what's really important is you see it every day. You drive the opposite direction I do, but you get to see it every day, what's going on. And I think that's really important. There you go, firsthand. So we appreciate that.
Because I come all the way from North Bend. People would drive 40 all the way through the 50, and I want to go through there, so I'm upset. And then they drive 40 all the way through town when I start to slow down, so.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. You're welcome to stay, but if not, you're welcome to leave. Okay, thanks, Jim. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, if there's nothing more for public comments, I will deem public comments closed. Public comments are closed. Next, we'll move on to the minutes. The approval minutes dated October 6, 2025. Are there any additions, corrections to the minutes as presented? Council members? Hearing none, we'll accept the minutes as presented. And that brings us to agenda bills, AB 25-091, Traffic and Criminal Software Agreement. And then we will allow the chief to sneak out after doing a presentation, and then Mr. Fletcher will take over.
If he needs to.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This agenda bill that is before you is pretty simple one. We have one that's currently in existence with WSP, which is Washington State Patrol, for our sector client. Sector client is the software program that the state utilizes for collision reports and the issuance of criminal citations and infractions. And every agency in the state utilizes those programs. Well, this program is several decades old, and we're one of the last states, if not the last state, to be utilizing it. And it has become problematic for State Patrol over the years to keep it up to date and everything. So what they've done is they've come up with another company to utilize, and it's called Trax. Trax is used in other states currently, and they've already begun implementation with State Patrol, and it's making its way through all the other jurisdictions and all the other agencies throughout the state. Our month is slated for our training in February, and State Patrol sent us this user agreement. So ultimately, it's for us to be providing a data sharing agreement with them so that we can continue to use their program that we have to use. And we're just changing from sector to Trax. There's an IT component to it, which they will be contacting our IT department to do the implementation and uploading and everything. They have our officers already listed in there. And I've been attending trainings for this program and meetings monthly for the last 24 months because I was even involved in it when I was in Enumclaw. So this is something that's been in process at least for about 7 years, and we're finally going live with it. It's supposed to increase our speeds on utilization, things like that. So, and it's a lot more user friendly because it's more like a PDF with drop down boxes versus the current system that is way out there. So that's kind of the gist of where we're at with that. It does need the approval of the mayor to sign it for us to enter this agreement and continue it with just the new software program.
Right. Well, my first question is, what's the cost? Is it just soft costs that are within the department, or?
It's the only cost we're going to have into this is just training, and they're doing evening and daytime training so that we can get everybody to it, because they're training a good portion of King County in February, and they're kind of staggering it. But the program doesn't cost us anything.
Okay, very good. Council members, questions? Councilmember Christensen, please.
Thanks. I noted under public disclosure that we're required, if we receive a public records request, to notify Washington State Patrol within 5 days. Are there any concerns of being able to meet that deadline?
No, we currently do that now. And they are the main record keeper in the current program. They keep all the records for 99+1 in the citations and things like that. So I'm not concerned about that at all.
Councilmember Cotton.
So I'm not sure if this is a question that Chief can answer, or if City Attorney Burke might need to chime in on this. Under item 6, the confidentiality or safeguarding of confidential information, there's a couple things that, being that I'm not familiar with this type of a contract, I just wanted to know if this is usual. They talk about in 6.1, salting of data, so introducing false data to information that can be later used to identify inappropriate disclosure of data. Is that a common practice with, I've never heard of it before, and
idea, right?
So-
Putting your fake rumor, figure out who's the, who won't disclose them.
I mean, I think this is all standard language. I mean, I don't have a concern about it because I don't think we're going to be engaging in the salting.
So that might be something that the software company is doing or Washington State Patrol. I mean, it sounds to me like ultimately it's supposed to be a safeguard that you can find if there's a leak of confidential information.
Yeah, I had to quickly look it up. It's pretty much obscuring data so people can't find out what it is. So like your password, when you salt it, you add random data to it. The system understands it, but a hacker can't understand it if they could look for it.
That's what they said. It would be unique pieces that would stand out so you'd be able to track that.
No, it's actually the opposite. It adds unique data to it so people cannot. So what happens is your password is not stored as text. It's stored as what we call the hash. The salting adds to the hash to say, this is so unique that no system should be able to know what this is when it was created. So it's a little bit confusing. I don't know why they put it there
And
per
'cause
se.
their description,
Yeah.
they describe it as the act of introducing data containing unique but false information that can be used later to identify inappropriate disclosure of data.
I see. So they're using it that way. Okay. So it's a method, yeah, so they can check to see if anybody's messed with the data.
Or is.
Yes. So it's so unique that if you mess with it, it's going to change that uniqueness.
Well, and kind of along some of the following paragraphs also kind of, it's almost like HIPAA things where you can't, well, they even talk about, human subject research. So release of records for human subjects research, that sounds like they'll be able to take some of the data out of this system and use it in research studies. There's the immigration status information, reproductive health care rights. All these are kind of things I wouldn't be expecting to see under Washington State Patrol software items. So again, it's just one of those things I'm wondering, is this a standard?
I'm over here.
Okay.
So this is a standard contract for everybody. We don't enter HIPAA information into any of the documentations, for example, or immigration statuses. We don't do any of that. What you're gonna get is your name, date of birth, driver's license, things like that. And all of those go through the standard, and your address. And those all go through a standard redaction requirement that is laid out in the law there. So we're not releasing any of that, and State Patrol's not going to either because they have to follow the same law we do. And I don't enter information. The only thing that we would put in a collision report, for example, regarding HIPAA would be possible injury, right arm, something like that. And we currently do that now. And that's just for insurance purposes. And then unless there's a fatality accident, which then that is listed as a fatality because that changes the reporting for the state when they do their data collection for the year and do our annual stats,
All right.
if
okay.
that helps.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, is this common? It seemed unusual to me.
And we don't collect immigration status, things like that, or HIPAA information on any of our arrest or reports as it is. So where that's exactly coming from in there, I think that's more of a standard with the company and with State Patrol.
Thank you.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yeah, I had also looked at, and this is in section 7 and 8, and it's just, I think, confirming that consistent with the law that keep Washington working in immigration law, that the parties are not allowed to use or share any of the information that's obtained from Washington State Patrol system personnel with any third parties to support or engage in civil immigration enforcement activities. And then just going kind of in line in the same thing, that in addition, it prohibits or that the agreement is prohibiting cooperation or assistance with out-of-state abortion and other reproductive health care investigations, prosecutions, or other actions. So I think it's just confirming that like we're not going to share any inappropriate information with a state that may choose to prosecute or federal organization that may choose to use that information. in a
Right,
different
or,
way.
but the fact that we would even be, if somebody would be collecting that is kind of the concerning part of things.
Well, yeah. And the good news is it sounds like we're not.
We don't collect it because we follow the Keep Washington Working Act and our policies, which we've been doing a lot on anyways in this regard. So we don't collect any of that data to begin with.
Thank you.
Any further questions? You did a great job of doing a deep dive. Thank you. Council members Cotton and Christensen. Anything else? Okay. Next action would be to move on to the agenda, if there's no objection. And then the last question, consent or regular agenda? Do you, under
no-
public safety?
I'm agreeable to consent. It doesn't have a dollar figure.
Then-
that-
No money
Yeah.
included.
involved
Okay,
per se.
consent agenda it is. All right, thank you very much, Chief, and I hope things go well for you tonight. Give your wife our best. All right, Chief Brown,
Come on down.
you are up. The fire department OT report. Good evening.
All right. Good evening to everyone. So Chief Bailey's out this evening, so I'm stepping in his place. But here to talk a little bit about overtime. This is good news. This is not anything bad per se. But what Andrew's pulled up for me is a overtime chart of current year overtime. So you can see each of the categories there. I'll just chat or discuss a little bit about each of those categories. So the EMT class is not typically used. We haven't used it in the past 4 years, but that's only when we teach a county EMS class. So if one of our firefighters is called to do that, they would use overtime to teach that class. First aid and CPR, this is typically filled by our volunteer corps, but every now and then, one of our career staff members could get called in there, so that's why you see a pretty low number there. Meetings, it's kind of self-explanatory, but typically our officers' meeting is gonna dominate that category. We do that once a month on the fourth Wednesday, and so those are the hours that go towards that meeting itself. QI review. So the fire officers, our lieutenants, participate in that. Sometimes they do that off duty. So again, overtime is granted for that QI. That's when they go in and review run reports, EMS calls, that kind of stuff. Special projects. You can kind of see the outlier there, that 87.5, that was for the pancake breakfast. So obviously we need all hands on deck for that event, and that brings in a majority of all the career staff, unless they have extenuating circumstances. Coverage for training, again, not typically used, more in the past, but it's when someone had to go to training while on shift, but with 5 on shift now, it's alleviated that need to utilize overtime to cover for those training dates. Event, which is the vendor paid, you can see down below, there's a asterisk talking about vendor OT was for the Boeing Classic, and that's paid for by them. The one I really want to get to, but I'm going to skip over and come back to it, is the mandatory. You can see it highlighted there in the yellow. You can see the late calls. Again, that's just if they're held over after shift. It's usually for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe sometimes up to an hour. Typically, we don't try to go too far beyond that unless it's a big emergency that they're stuck on, kind of thing. Shared staffing, it was something that we did with Falls City, but you can see that that's the zeros the past few months. The firefighters collectively decided to cease the shared staffing program. So that's why you see the zeros annotated there, and 120 hours of it in the first quarter of this year. Shift overtime, again, is self-explanatory. One of the big things from that, though, that we wanted to emphasize is it's any overtime for regular staffing. and on projection to be 1,500 or lower, 1,500 hours or lower. Excuse me, not 1,500 hours, 1,500 hours lower than 2025. That's than 2024 is the point there. Training classes as well. Again, just any overtime needed to go to offsite training classes. So to get back to the highlighted yellow and mandatory, Andrew, if you could scroll down just a little bit for me on that one. Right there's perfect. Oh, just up a little bit, sorry. Just so we can see the two highlighted areas. Perfect. So you can see there, so mandatory overtime is decreased significantly. You can see there from 2023, we had over 1,700 hours of mandatory overtime. That's where we have nobody to fill a shift and somebody's getting held over, getting called in from home, and that could that could interfere with personal plans, family plans, vacations, all those things. So I know I'm telling you a lot of things that you probably already know, but just trying to drive home the emphasis of how valuable it was to get the 3 additional firefighters and how much overtime across the board that's alleviated. Now, we still had a little bit of overtime due in part to a long-term leave of absence by one of our lieutenants. But we've since held promotional boards and have selected that individual and with a 1 November start date. So we're excited to see all 3 shifts have a dedicated lieutenant to it. And then another big piece that we're working towards is getting more actors. Our actor pool is low right now, to put it nicely, and we're working diligently to get those young up and coming firefighters ready for that acting lieutenant role. It's really a leadership role. It's a supervisory role. It's critically important that we're picking the right people and that we're making sure that they're ready to do that job. So you can see there, though, that a lot of really big numbers historically when it comes to overtime. And this is just kind of, not proof, but just numbers to solidify the fact that adding those 3 additional firefighters and doing what we're doing is decreasing the amount of overtime, decreasing, the burnout, the workload, the amount of time the firefighters are spending away from home, and we're giving that back to them. So kudos to city council, city leadership for allowing us to bring on 3 new firefighters, because again, it shows that what that's meant to the department, to the people of the Snoqualmie Fire, it means an immense amount. So other than that, those are the main talking points of this overtime slide. It was something that I brought to the chief's attention earlier this year. I really wanted to track it and really wanted to show that we're trending in the right direction. We really anticipate fourth quarter, those numbers will be significantly lower now that we're in the final phases of hiring for the final vacancy for the firefighter position. And once we get that person on board, these numbers, I truly believe, will be significantly lower.
Very good. Council members, any questions, comments?
Happy to see the numbers down.
Yeah.
We are as well.
So happy.
Yeah, definitely. Great work. Thank you much. Anything else from administration? All
The
right.
numbers look great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Brown. All right. That. Items for future discussion. Anything that you'd like to bring forward or remind me about? That I think speed has been, it's incredibly helpful having residents and business owners point out where we need to put more emphasis on. I applaud Public Works and the police department for addressing the school zones down here so quickly. But it seems like we have more work to do, and that's okay.
They've been notified.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Councilmember Cox.
On that topic, what do we need to do as far as work with, like WashDOT for Railroad Avenue? Because that is, definitely those transition periods on both sides of town. I've tried to use the crosswalk off of Northern and like, it's been like, you think it's clear, but then there's the screeching of brakes as you're into the crosswalk. And so I'm hoping that, definitely we can do some traffic calming measures on either side of town for that 40 to 25 transition. But again, this is Highway 202, and I don't know what things we would have to do with WashDOT to, be able to implement anything.
I think we should have a
Mr.
study.
Chambliss, would you care to chime in? Put you on the spot.
So we can reach out to them, kind of separate from this discussion. The state's been working for 2 years, I think about 2 years, and I think there's a draft done, fast to see it, I haven't seen it yet, where they've done a holistic look at all the state highways in the state of Washington to try to decide, does it make sense that it's still a highway now, 20 years later, or should that transfer to the city it's in, and maybe this other area needs to be the highway? And that's kind of the wrench that got thrown in the gears when we were having the Parkway discussion. So as part of that, there may be some changes coming from WashDOT there, but we'll definitely reach out to WashDOT if there's a problem with the crosswalk painting. And it does make sense that there's school crossing signs on 202. So we'll reach out and ask for those also.
Thank you. Councilmember Christensen.
So I'm pretty sure that I know the answer to my question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. I assume then that if we were to inherit 202, we would also then be responsible for paying as the road would be getting like paved and all of those things. And so as we're thinking about and trying to trade away the Parkway, which was recently $5 million to pave, we would potentially be inheriting or swapping for additional fees and costs that would be borne by the taxpayers.
That was an idea that they threw out that we resisted. We're not really interested in inheriting a mess. I do believe, and I don't know if it's still on the books, at the time there was a law in the books that said that the state couldn't transfer a bridge to a city. So that's good news. So
Yeah.
we won't be stuck with
Incredibly
bridges
expensive, yes.
because they are
Was that like a
incredibly expensive.
$100 million project?
But yes, that's also a concern about that. So we don't know until we see that report. So let me follow up with Jeff and see where that is. I think he said there was a draft out.
Thank you.
Mayor
It
Ross.
would also include North Bend. They would not just take, Snoqualmie would be, within the city, would also include all the way to North Bend, all the way to I-90. So they have to be willing to take that as well. So
I will chime in because my office is on the other end of 202. And so many times we have accidents on 90 where the traffic does get routed through 202. And it would be a concern to me of the state transferring ownership of 202 over to us. I mean, I think there's more long-term cost to the city that we just don't have the wherewithal to do what the state should be doing for as important as an alternate. And besides, it's traffic from North Bend out through the valley up to Monroe is through here. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. So there's more things that we can discuss offline that I have concerns about. So with that, is there anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Christensen.
So tomorrow going forward for F&A, we're talking about the legislative priorities for next year. One of the things that I was considering walking on is I've recently learned that King County is considering cutting the funding for the crisis intervention training that's done at the academy by a significant number, like 75%. And so I think that is something that we should maybe be speaking to our legislators about, because obviously making sure that we can have crisis intervention training, done for our police officers, all of them, right, is going to be quite important in terms of impacts down the line. So,
I'm glad you raised that question because MID funding, MIDD, and I can't remember all the letters that go with it, but there is a a first aid for mental health piece that I think that we need to take a look at, where the King County can come in and actually provide. It's similar to CPR, but how do you deal with somebody in a mental illness sort of crisis? And I think there's value to that. And, you know, we can step in for first aid, but how do you step in, whether it's a workplace or just in the community, on somebody's mental health standard? And it works with both first responders and just ordinary citizens. And I think that's worthwhile looking at it. I have talked to the hospital about, but let's explore that a little further, because that's a free resource for communities throughout King County.
The more people we can get trained up, the better.
Hmm?
I said the more people that we can get trained up on that, the better.
Absolutely. The classes tend to be about 30 or so participants, and so we could hold that either, and I would suggest either here or with the hospital. And that could possibly be a first quarter thing. And Chief Brown, you definitely want to be involved in that as well, because it's first aid, right? Okay. So, all set. Anything else? Hearing none, I will call for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by council members Cotton and Christensen. If there's no objection, we will stand adjourned at 5:36 p.m.